Hi there, Steve here from Spiriality Talks. Um, yeah, I wanted to hit on the topic today of love and the question, is love a chemical? I'm looking at it in the sense of people like Richard Dawkins, kind of materialist, scientific types that, well, not scientific, but materialist science, where they look at everything as a chemical base. The invisible realm isn't taken into consideration at all. Looking at it as mumbo jumbo, the word spiritual doesn't come into the picture. Um, Although I kind of agree with that on one level, because the word's been used, misused, misunderstood, and a lot of people look at it in different ways and have different interpretations and so forth. So I'm not that enthusiastic about it being used necessarily to express the science of spirit, or the spiriality as I call it. But saying that, I like to look at these questions, and I like to be able to logically express and understand some of these more esoteric, metaphysical, meaning, I suppose, beyond physical, above the physical, and consciousness, as has been shown recently with science and has been understood for thousands of years, is the guiding force behind what we know as reality, matter, choices we make, emotions, intelligence, creativity, inspiration, and even to the extent of what we see as reality. Now, it's well known even in children's science classes that, number one, everything has a vibratory rate. Everything in the physical world is energy and also expressed as vibration, which is inherent in light. Light and vibration are like that. Sound and light and vibration essentially are the same thing, which is again where the Hindu Sanskrit word Om, which we use also in the West for omnipresent, omniscient, and so forth. The word para as well is Sanskrit. We use that para, also meaning above or beyond or transcending. So these things have been known for a long time, and now our modern science has been getting to grips with the reality that obviously we know there's such thing as consciousness in science and Western science. Otherwise, there'd be no experimental or science. But what I'm saying is the light frequency range that our physical eyes apparently can perceive is picked up as an energetic frequency of vibration, which is interpreted and expressed in and by the brain, by the mind, within the consciousness, as what we see as reality. So, that's why it's also said everything happens inside your head or so forth. Although if you bring all of that together, there is no head or brain, because they're also physically perceived. That's how we know it. I mean, on one level of reality, if you look at things on a very, very minute level, there's no gap between my hands, because the space between it is made up of the same things as the hand. I mean, on the atomic level, there's atoms here, 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 all the way up to here, right? So everything is connected totally. On that level, for instance, there's no separation between anything physical. And again, then we get into the misconception, which we'll talk about a little bit later, of the singularity, where it's misunderstood as a total oneness, but more of a sameness, and that's where this intention to make everyone and everything almost the same, believing that's the highest truth, you see, is the fact that we're all one. To me, that's not the highest truth anyway, and it's only one small aspect of truth. The reality of our separateness is just as real, just as true, if not more so, because even on non-physical levels of experience, there is an experience and an experiencer. Even in so-called non-duality talk, to have an experience of non-duality again, that must be within duality of experience, and experiencer. Even if the experience transcends our normal modes, our normal physical realm, may transcend the body in terms of out-of-body experiences, remote viewing, etc. But it's still an experience and experiencer, so there's still duality. That's the relationship between I and I, as the Rastas term it, which would be the one I, Jah, Rastafari, yeah, the one, the head creator, meaning there's many creators. As human beings, we're all creators, at least potentially. When we use the human part of the brain, the neocortex, the frontal lobes, when that part of the brain, if you were having an MRI scan, if that part is lit up, it means we are in the human aspect of the brain is being used, whether, in creativity, inspiration, spiritual connection, feeling of connectedness, and but that's the human brain anyway. Excuse me, while I smoke my spliff, as Bob would say. Yeah. Okay, back to science and the nature of reality. The nature of reality unto causality. Get into your heart and your spiriality. You know what me say, express your reality. Empathy is the way leading unto your heart, unto reality, and that's a good start. Right, anyway, point being, is love a chemical? Okay, now where these lot get stuck is, for instance, happiness. When you are happy, it is said serotonin is produced in the brain, right? So it's like taking the heat for the flame, yeah, when they're both connected. Now, because you have heat, it doesn't mean you have a flame. If you have a flame, there is always heat, and yet they're not one, and yet they are, right? So that's where people get stuck in, because a lot of people, we are used to duality. We're trained it's either one or the other. Most of us are more left-brained, which is the part of the brain that cuts things apart and dissects the intellect. With intellect, there is always separation. Okay. Again, obviously, for experiencer, there may or may not be separation. This is the weird thing where you can have an experience, as they say, of non-duality, and yet, even in the phrasing itself, we're having an experience of it. What does that mean? It means we're having a non-dual experience, and yet we're having the experience, which is duality. So it's both at the same time, which is, again, basically the essence of non-duality. But within that is duality. That's the real shit, and that's what is getting lost, I think, in the translation or the understanding, or in a lot of the latest science. And that's why I'm here talking about this, because from what I see, little old me, being the fuck up that I am, I'm crazy enough to believe in myself and my own understanding, and the understanding that's been imparted onto me, and the insights that come through. Well, this is the thing, you see, if I expect, getting onto the double slit experiment, I'm sorry I jump and I skip, okay, but it will all paint one picture at the end, okay? Some artists, they might draw a tree and then the field. Yeah, I might do a few leaves here, a bit of a field, but by the end it will all make sense. That's my hope anyway. Have faith, give it a couple of minutes, let's see what happens. Alright, so yeah, on a minute level, right, everything's energy, vibration. Buddha called them kalapas, if I'm not mispronouncing it, which is undifferentiated. Anyone who's done Vipassana courses, 10-day Vipassana courses, will understand exactly what I'm talking about. Big up to Jermaine, by the way, my mate Jermaine. He just got back recently from serving on the Vipassana course. Anyway, look into that if you want to check it out. It's ancient Buddhist meditation that's been held onto for probably since the time of the Buddha, it is said. And after it left India, it went to Burma, and then back to India and back around the world. taught in 10-day silent meditation courses. And the technique, meaning insight meditation, is known as Vipassana meditation. Vipassana. And anyway, Buddha, yeah, so everything's made up of undifferentiated vibration of minute particles. I mean, they're so much, but anyway, they flicker in and out of existence, but undifferentiated, meaning the number, if there is such a thing, remains the same. So you might have one disappear, but one will appear at exactly the same time, similar to how the cells in the body should be working nicely. One is dying, one's being born, then the amount will stay undifferentiated. So it's undifferentiated. We don't know exactly where one goes or where one comes from, but we know there is a connection between it all, and one is appearing, so everything is this sea, field, or waves of energy and potential flickering in and out of existence. And that's what makes up molecules, cells that flicker in and out of existence a little bit slower, the human body, which flickers in and out of existence a bit slower still, planets which flicker in and out of existence slower still, and so on. And the smaller you get, the faster it's happening, right? Either way, that's how the physical world, and even within the atom, it's said there's 98 or 90 something % empty space makes up the atom. What they're calling, of course, empty space is again probably something we cannot yet see, so we're calling it empty space. But again, within that, no doubt, is universes of potential and energy. And on the quantum level, it's said there's no space and time. Looking at the the atomic level, again, everything is essentially so connected that you could say it's all one. Going further still, quantum into the quantum understanding, quantum science, that oneness is subtle energy and thought, and can travel at the speed, but traveling, you see, implies going from one to another. But according to latest quantum theory and that, anyway, space and time disappears when you get to that level. As I understand it, time is a man-made measurement of movement anyway. And depending on what movement your watch is set by will depend on time. And then division. Again, it's the left brain cutting things apart. We look at a planet spinning around the sun, it can do it forever. And then we somehow divide it into numbers and sequence that, going from months to weeks to days to hours to minutes and seconds, and get it to fit as best they can. Of course, you get leap years and so forth because it doesn't quite fit, and the division and maths doesn't really work too well. The Mayans and the Vedic calendar, they've got it a lot better, a lot closer, looking at 25,000 year period as part of it, how long it takes us to go around the galaxy. You see, our solar system is going around the center of the galaxy. Yeah, our galaxy, no doubt, is going around the center of the universe. Each galaxy is spinning, each solar system is spinning, and within that, the sun and planets, as far as we know, are also spinning. And again, on a minute subatomic level, atomic level, sorry, we've got, it always looks like space. Space can look like atoms. Everything is so interconnected, it's not even real, But getting back to the question, see, what I'm doing here is I'm painting this picture because I don't know what understanding is there and what elements and what pieces of the puzzle may be missing for you. And if I jump straight into saying, this is what's come to me, this is how I understand it, and I really would love to share it, without any of the rest of the picture being there, it can be taken in many ways, misunderstood for sure, and not understood most probably, So that's why I'm rambling on a little bit, because I'm just painting each part of the picture. So we've got a basis of the nature of reality, the flickering in and out of existence, undifferentiated, the atomic level, the fact that everything, even on a physical level of molecules and atoms and the things that make up the gases that make up our air and so forth, everything you see is connected fully on that level. Even branch out a bit to what we see and how we perceive things, with again like the 5% range of light that we're able to see, and the minute fraction, meaning I think something like 1 or 2% of tens of thousands of bits of information that pass through our minds and our awareness. Most of it gets filtered out into the subconscious and what have you, so that we're able to focus on what we're tuned into. Now, this is also a very important aspect of what we're talking about when I say tuning into. Basically, I'm speaking of where our awareness lies. So if our awareness is lying within this reality and we're focusing on a certain aspect of this reality, that's what we're tuned into. If we hold a certain belief system, with it carries a certain vibration, depending on how close it's tuned in with the reality and with our own happiness and spirit and so forth. The lighter something is, the higher the vibration, yeah, from rocks to waters, liquids to gases, it will be a higher vibration. The human body, we can decide to change it even with our intent, as we can our breathing and things that we let into the conscious awareness. Changing diet, certain foods have a much heavier vibration, a much slower vibration. If we were to consume more oxygen and air, for instance, we know that's a faster vibration than liquids, right? If you drink a lot of water, we know that's a faster vibration than solids. If we eat a lot of watery foods, melons and fruits and leaves, and we know they contain nutrients and minerals and amino acids and all the building blocks of proteins and neurotransmitters that we need, and these are in different phytochemicals and nutrients and all of this is, so we know these things, and the more dense and processed the food is, the heavier and less natural and less in balance the vibration is, and the harder it is for the body to assimilate it, and the more it will actually slow things down, even after eating a shitty meal. Like if any of you, like I used to eat McDonald's back in the day, and I remember even then, I didn't know much better. And but I knew how I felt, and I always felt like shit. You have a McDonald's, you barely move, and you need to eat a lot of it to get full up because there's no nutrition in it. So your body has a Big Mac and fries, and it's still crying out to be fed because it hasn't got what it needs. Whereas if you eat like raw broccoli and celery, you can't even eat that much of it. It really fills you up more than you'd think. Quicker than it does when you cook it, because it's more packed with nutrients. Also, it takes more work to break down than when it's cooked. Yeah, but it's also because it contains a lot more vitamins and nutrients, and so your body gets what it needs a lot faster than it would do having processed shite, or your starchy carbs and things like this. So that's a general rule. The more chi, the more alive and vibrant the food is, the more it will keep you alive and vibrant, and the more it supports your own chi and your own energy. Same as good fresh air, good water, what have you. And thinking, this is where the later science has got to, and this is where this covers a lot of this. Our thinking pattern can also change vibration big time. And our consciousness and thoughts are like the fire and the heat. Yeah? The minute our awareness goes somewhere based on intent or thought, and that intent is lined up with a certain frequency based on the belief system that it stems from, and how tuned in that belief system is with, and when we're looking at with reality, and when we're looking at in relation to truth, you might think, oh, this sounds a bit airy fairy. Why would that be the case? Why, and what is the truth? How do you have a handle on the truth? Everyone nowadays doesn't believe in truth. We've all got our own truth, blah blah blah, it's all subjective. Well, fuck you, that's not the reality from where I'm standing. Okay. So, but no, to me there is a truth. Simple as that. There is a reality, like it or not. Okay. Science. What is science? It means repeatable experiment that will lead to a certain result, and they call it a theory, but if it's a provable result and we all can repeat it and have the same result, that's what they call a good science. A good scientific grounding. So consciousness, every scientist believes they have consciousness. They know they're conscious. So surely we should have a consciousness science, right? Beyond the chemical aspect. Now the chemical aspect is what we're really here to talk about. And what's going on. Now, where we put our awareness, yeah, is where our energy flows. This is a Chinese teaching, Qigong, where if you put your awareness to your hand, we can all try this as an experiment, we might, yeah? Bring your awareness to your hand, you'll feel energy flow where your awareness goes, and if you hold your awareness to your hand, you will start to feel it in subtler levels until you're feeling a vibratory rate. Yeah, you can maybe perceive the central nervous system, the flickering rate of the cells, of the cells, sorry. And the more subtle your awareness gets, similar to sight, sound, smell. If you look at a wine expert, they're able to perceive aspects of the smell which can be looked at on a computer. It will say, oh yes, these different chemical correspondences correspond to what the wine connoisseur has said about this, or the cherry smell that must come from these flavonoids or what have you. And we can tune on very subtle levels. Yeah, this is where consciousness. Now we're sailing on the boat of consciousness. Yeah. No longer is it objective. No longer can we prove anything. No longer can we see or show anything necessarily. Yeah. Now it's subjective, but it's just as real and just as open, in my opinion, to science and to experiment. Because anybody can do these same things. If you picture yourself in a stressful situation that you have experienced in the past, and I only say stressful situation to the extent that you remember it being stressful, right? Not that I'm saying there is such a thing as a stressful situation. In fact, the opposite is true. Yeah, because you can put 10 people in the same situation, one will be stressed and 9 may not be. The opposite can be true. Yeah, so it's not the situation, it's our belief system. It's the pictures, words and thoughts that we hold in conjunction to that, and that we carry and that we repeat or hold on to, that create the physics, because the brain doesn't know the difference. We may know the difference, yeah, as conscious beings. We know the difference between when we're thinking something and when we're riding a bike or picturing ourselves on a bike. But the brain, being not us, yeah, this is another aspect of the science showing. If you look at Rupert Sheldrake's theory and understanding on the morphogenic field, it's what he's called or coined the term for consciousness being a field of awareness. What's seen as the aura in Eastern understanding, prana, chi in China, it's been seen as the etheric field, bioenergetic field, biomagnetic field. Yeah, bio is from the body, yeah, it's from the biology, and or at least it's inherent within it, or it's behind it, or it's part of it. Yeah, again, we're looking at like heat, fire, smoke. Yeah, they're not the same, yet they're all inherent within the flame, or from the expression. So the flame will be the consciousness, let's just say for the moment, or even the candle is, whatever. Yeah, the flame is the consciousness. The smoke is the chi, yeah, and heat. For now, it can be the chemicals. Okay, you see. So if we think a stressful thought, what happens? If we're in that place and we remember it fully and we immerse ourselves in it, and we feel that level of anxiety, stress or concern that we were feeling, or that if you're going to talk on stage, right? Why are we shitting ourselves before we're on stage? When you're on stage, you probably won't be shitting yourself. It's like if you're in a plane crash, worrying about it is one thing, but I doubt when you're in the midst of it, you're going to be worrying about it. Praying maybe, crying, screaming maybe, hugging your passenger maybe, but I doubt you'll be worrying about it too much. We tend to, worrying is a projection of a fantasy that we're having about the future, generally an unpleasant fantasy of the future, or looking at potential future, but we narrow it down. We don't look at all the potentials. We won't grab onto a great fucking potential and put that right there, Instead, our awareness goes to these other potentials, yeah, if we're worrying, and anxiety will come because we're repeating this thought pattern to the point of chemical release, right? So we're getting cortisol and maybe adrenaline and chemicals that fuck the immune system up. They relate to illnesses in the future. If we're in that state relatively often, it can cause serious degenerative effects on the body, stomach problems, brain, all sorts of issues. Yeah, this we know. Okay, this is the chemical aspect. Now, if Mr. Dawkins is correct, you can inject someone with adrenaline or cortisol, they'll go into a stress response, and that may be true. Yeah, because chances are your body and brain remember the chemical in conjunction to that process. So the only time you've experienced adrenaline is when you've been in a flight or fight situation. Now, whether that situation was created by your mind or something you experienced is irrelevant to the chemical process yet. So we still have, so if you get injection of it, chances are what's actually happening is on a very quick level is your brain is remembering and then agreeing with, and you're getting the experience. The chemical is also the experience on a physiological level, yeah? But if I meditate and I'm relaxed and I'm happy and I'm content, or I'm in the midst of something, like, yeah? I'm going to swing it the other way around in a second to really give you the picture of what I'm talking about. But I can guarantee you that cortisol, the stress hormones, they'll be counteracted with other endorphins, serotonin and so forth very, very quickly if our actual mind is not in that state on any level and we're relaxed. The two are not, they're not going to go together, right? So it will be a very brief experience, whereas anxiety is going on, you see. It will go on after the event because we're thinking in a certain sense, which is producing the results, but it's not happening. You're being chased by a tiger, flight or fight kicks in, yeah? You're either running or you're going to fight, grab a stick, whatever, yeah? And then it's over, and then you're relaxed, and then you're back with the village. You might recount the story around the fire, and depending on if you're thinking about it and reliving it, yeah, you will have the experience. And if someone is in that mode quite often, or part of their subconscious habitual training has been to repeat these negative thoughts, it will be something they do very often, you see, and creating stress, and also putting stress into things like traffic. The more you repeat traffic and stress together, the brain remembers them both. Okay, the only reason we used to get stressed out when a lion pops up and we're standing in the wild is because we've seen people get mauled. We've heard stories from family about what's going to happen, or in our culture we've seen films or TV shows with people getting killed by a lion. If you're a child, first time you see the lion and you're totally relaxed, big cat, right? Different ball game. So even in that sense, it's up here, but at least with a lion there's a reality behind it, okay? If we've trained ourselves to have the same response over traffic or over dropping a mug because when we were 7 we got spanked when we dropped a mug and it created a stress response within us as a small child, right? That's how deep it goes. That's how far back we need to get to clean ourselves out of the bullshit and to become our real selves, because our conditioning and our training and stress and trauma responses that we built up from a young age, a lot of the time, no matter how much spiritual, a lot of the time, not all the time, they're still inherent in the system, in the subconscious or the way. So it's really good to look at these things and understand a lot of it comes from way back as well. A lot of our conditioning and our responses, they're not natural and they're certainly not sane or normal. Why would we go into a flight or fight response if we drop a mug? Yeah, I used to be like this. That's why it came up, the mug. I used to be very accident prone, dropping things all the time, and obviously it became an issue sometimes, and stress would happen either because of feeling like an idiot or a time that I was shouted at or whatever it might have been on that level, probably both. So becoming the observer, you know, it at least starts to let go of the old habits. We're able to observe without reacting, and then we can appropriately respond. And that's up here, again, as I say, what we call stress. Now, so once we've got to this point, now we understand that situations don't cause stress necessarily, unless we perceive them as life-threatening, dangerous, scary, or anxious-causing based on how we've thought about these things in the past, possibly based on past experience, or what we've seen, what we've heard from others, yeah, or just from the thought process itself. Okay. Happiness, they equate with serotonin. Love, again, it's with opiates and endorphins and serotonin and so forth working together, and they say that's the love chemical. And the Dawkins crew, they would say that is a response, a part of evolution, so that we can procreate and look after each other, because it's more convenient to work as a community, and it's more so I'm trying to think of the right word, more conducive to our evolution as a being, yeah, to work in a community and to fight a line with 10 of us rather than 2. And because of that, love was built into the evolutionary system to protect us and to secure our DNA for the future, and so that we can procreate, because now I love the woman, and the natural response is to have sex and have a baby maybe, and da 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 da, and that's why love chemicals are produced, blah blah blah. But if we can produce those chemicals by thought alone, then that would mean that the thought comes first and the chemical comes later. Or if the thought, you see, is recreating or creating a potential experience or recreating an old experience in our mind, you could say the experience creates a reaction which then expresses the chemical. Or you could say, because all experience is happening within us, yeah, you can say that we are experiencing within ourselves, and based on the experience and the beliefs we hold about it, again from that belief system, that thinking pattern, whether we believe it's this or that, good or bad, fearful or not, anxiety causing whatever reason, yeah, then the chemical gets produced, which then reaffirms to the physiology to get the hell out of there, or to feel at ease and in love and to trust and to open up, or what have you, yeah? So in that sense, our health, it's all in our own minds, it's all in our own hands, yeah? We can recreate our patterning and our conditioning and the things that we have seen as normal or habits. You know, and we even rationalize these things. Well, I've got a right to be stressful, or I've got a right to hate that person. Anything that causes because the reason, you see, love is there is not to do with evolution or anything. It's because it's part of truth. What do I mean by that? This is what I was getting at before when I said, why would I have a hold on truth, you know? But let me share this with you. Okay. There's not a modern scientist, I don't think, alive that would not agree that everything is interconnected and connected. Okay, if that's the case, on one level, not on every level, okay, don't misunderstand what I'm saying, but on one level, we are one being. I'm not necessarily saying we're one consciousness. One being, as in on the physical human being, yeah, you think of this body, yeah? If I say this is my being, yeah, you're seeing me touch my body, it's a body, right? Because we cannot see what we cannot see. Consciousness we cannot see, but we can see the expressions of it, right? Therefore it's invisible. Okay, what we're seeing is the expression of this consciousness and the chi, or the energy that makes up my atoms and cells. I say mine, you see, even that I just caught myself and thought, are they my atoms? Are they my cells? No, they can't be. And even if they were, you know, they're like my garden. It's like each blade of grass is mine. No, it's not. And if it is, it goes and comes and goes. Same as my cells. My whole body changes every 7 years, apparently, on a cellular level, from brains to bones to skin and blood. Everything has died and been reborn. So if we are the body, that means we have died and been reborn, so we should be another person with new memories and so forth, if any part of that structure that we call ourselves is physical. If memory was physical, we would never remember past 7 years. Yeah? If if any part of our consciousness and actual internal realm of experience was held in a physical part of us, yeah. I saw a video the other day of a guy who had half his brain taken away when he was 6 or 7, yeah, and over the years his brain simply transplanted aspects that were working over there to over here, yeah. Okay, it's called neuroplasticity, yeah, where that's a word describing the plastic nature, the flexibility that the brain has in shifting what part is used for memory from there to here, what part is used for this over there to there. It's more like a computer where you can take one file, put it in another place, one file, because the place is not a real place and the file is not physical. Memory is not physical, thought is not physical, it has physical effects. That's the bridge that Dawkins has yet to cross, is between the non-physical and the physical. That's the chi that is spoken of, or the energy, you could say. Okay? Thought, where's the awareness? Oh, it's the body. Okay, my body. Okay, I'm looking at myself as separate. Okay, that's not in line with reality, which is that we're all interconnected on other, yeah? So love is an expression of the reality of that interconnectedness. Why would I cut my own finger off? That's fucking insane. So the body has a warning system, right? If I cut someone's head off, yeah, believing they're separate from I, yeah, the warning system is suffering, yeah. If you have empathy, you'll feel pain, you'll feel loss, you'll feel sad, yeah. You'll probably get killed by fat. You know, there's repercussions, there's problems. You're being taught this is not the way to happiness. The way to happiness is to live in line with truth and reality. Okay, a fish living on the land will never be happy. Okay, there'll always be something amiss, even if it's wearing the best fucking diving onto land gear, and it's got all the nice little fishy snacks and plankton growing up in little fish bowls, and it goes bathing once a while, you know. It still will have something missing. It will not quite be happy. It won't live as long as the other fish, you know. And as a metaphor, I've used that one, you know, because it's a strong one, and it's exactly right. If we are spiritual, if we are essentially the main part of us and the guiding part of us, and what we perceive is not physical, you see, and we're scared of everything physical because we've been taught these processes of fear. We've been taught you're the body, you're separate from everything else, because now we've learnt names and labels, you see, from age 2 or 3. This is black, this is white, this is you, this is them. Before that, there's an experience of wholeness. You're one with the mother, and then you're one with both, and then you're one with your cot, one with your feeling of sleep or hunger. The eyes are like that with a baby, this peripheral vision, you see, because they haven't broken everything down with it, and they haven't become segregated into the left brain with the education system yet, and this intellectual outlook, which has its place, you see. That's why I bring that part into what we're talking about. I'm not into too much airy-fairy, willy-nilly, spiritual mumbo-jumbo talk, in the sense of, you know, I'm not being degradatory, I'm not being nasty, but it's bullshit, a lot of it, because it's hot. No one's got a grip on it. If you haven't had the experience, and you've got all these memes and words and everyone's awakening and da-da-da-da-da and empathy, but yeah, without the experience it means nothing, right? And without solid understanding, because we are Western and we're left-brained and we've had that drummed into us, it's good to connect that bridge between left and right hemisphere, yeah, between spirit and matter, between our Western education and logical mind and the spiritual, creative, inspirational mind, yeah, the connected self and the separate ego with the ego of connection, yeah, which is where love springs, yeah, and then love and wisdom, so that we're not just throwing coins at homeless people because our hearts are got, yeah, something solid, something real, something with wisdom and logic behind it, as an expression also of the love, without losing our emotions, without pushing them aside or pushing them down or pushing them away or throwing them out too much, you know, yeah. Realization, yeah, why am I angry? What do I want to express? What am I frustrated about? Yeah, if that's our experience, right? If I've just lost my mum to cancer, right, and Dawkins comes along and injects me with serotonin and says be happy, do you think that serotonin is going to make much difference? And if it does, how long is it going to last? 5 minutes before I'm in tears? I cannot be happy. How could I be? Yeah, it's up here. Whereas if I just lost my mum and suddenly that wasn't my mum, that was a total stranger, yeah, maybe I would feel happy with the serotonin, feeling disconnected from that person, right? Okay, now we're getting there. I'm going to leave it there for now, folks. I hope you've enjoyed our dialogue. Much love and appreciation, and I hope you gained something from this. Steve out.